Every day for 6 months, a waitress fed a silent boy, then his incredible wolf father was revealed. Lily wiped down the counter at Rosie's diner, her thoughts racing with the rhythm of clinking plates and sizzling meat on the grill. The diner was a whirlwind of flavor, laughter, and the scent of homemade pies floating through the air. Despite the chaos, she found solace in the daily routine. Behind the busy scenes, she was building a future of her own, dreams of becoming a chef, of crafting incredible meals that made people happy. But for now, her realities were knitted tightly around family, especially her aging mother, who relied on her more each day. As the sun dipped low, shadows stretched across the diner, casting a golden glow. It was then that Eli entered, a silent boy with bowed shoulders and a face that held untold stories. Each day he appeared, nodding at her with a shy smile. She knew his order by heart, a steaming plate of meatloaf and mashed potatoes, but she sensed so much more than simple hunger in his gaze. Beneath that quiet exterior lay a strength she saw but couldn't touch. 6 months they had shared this ritual, and it had become one of the highlights of her day. But whispers in town spoke of Eli's father, a man known only as Wolf. The name scraped through air like a cold wind. Townsfolk painted him as a menace, a shadow instead of a man, plagued by the ghosts of war. As people judged, Lily felt an inexplicable pull towards that family, yearning to understand the truth behind their silence and fears. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One afternoon, the diner felt more electric than ever. Eli, finally cracking the shell of silence, shared a few words about his home. Each syllable dropped like a stone in her chest, heavy yet liberating. "Dad, he tries to be good," he whispered, eyes glistening. Instantly, Lily felt a spark of determination flare within her. Maybe, just maybe, if she could help connect Eli with his father, she could mend the broken parts of their lives. The moment resonated in her heart. Hope began to build. But the townspeople's prejudice ran deep. Familiar faces questioned her, murmured doubts swirling like thick smoke. Why help them? They'd say, eyes cast downward. They didn't see the layers in Eli, nor the love Wolf had for his son. Then everything exploded. One night, Wolf was accused of a horrific act. Anger ignited within Lily. She felt it thrumming in her veins. How could they judge without knowing the truth? Determined, she fought through the turmoil of voices, certain she had to bridge the gap between Eli and the man who meant the world to him. As the storm of judgment rose, an unexpected revelation about Wolf began to unravel the town's perceptions, shaking the very core of their beliefs and prejudices. In the dimming diner, the breath of twilight wrapping around them, Lily felt a change fluttering in the air. Could love and understanding tear down generational walls? Would Eli and Wolf have a chance at healing? She gripped the edge of the counter, fear and hope swirling within her. The journey was just beginning. The diner buzzed with a peculiar energy the next day. Lily could feel the weight of eyes on her as she poured coffee and served plates, the usual familiarity now laced with tension. The whispers of the night before lingered like a cloud hanging low over Rosie's, darkening the bright atmosphere. She spotted Eli at the door, his silhouette framed by the sun spilling behind him. He hesitated before stepping inside, casting a quick glance around as if gauging the mood of the room. "Hey Eli," Lily called out, her smile wide and warm, despite the worry gnawing at her. "Your usual?" He nodded, a flicker of relief washing over his face before he made his way to the counter. As she slid the plate of meatloaf and mashed potatoes towards him, she noticed the way his fingers trembled slightly. It was a new kind of silence between them, one filled with unspoken words and hidden fears. She wanted to ask him about the accusations, wanted to reach out and tell him that it would be okay. But that wasn't her place. "Everything all right at home?" she ventured, leaning a bit closer, her heart pounding. Eli's eyes dropped, as if the weight of truth was too heavy to bear. "Dad." "He scared," he finally whispered, the words tumbling from him like bricks falling from a wall. Her heart sank. She knew that fear. It was the same fear that lived in the diner with every judgmental gaze, every summarized theory of who Wolf was and what he was capable of. What is he scared of? Of what people say, of what they think he'll do. The boy's voice barely broke the din of clattering silverware and laughter. But Lily could feel the honesty in his words, the pain that was woven into the fabric of their lives. She wanted to cradle that pain, shield it from judgment like a flickering candle flame. Eli, she said softly, your dad cares about you, and sometimes caring comes with its own kind of fear. He looked up, searching her face for understanding. What does that mean? It means, she paused, searching her thoughts, that maybe he is trying to figure out how to protect you. Even if he doesn't always know how. Something shifted in Eli's posture, a flicker of hope sparking in his dark eyes. They carried the weight of his father's pride and pain, and in that moment, she was certain she had touched on something crucial. But then the bell above the diner door chimed, pulling her attention away from Eli. A tall man with a wild mane of hair entered, his presence immediately commanding the room's attention. Whispers cascaded through the diner as he approached. It was Wolf, Eli's father. His eyes, sharp and stormy, scanned the room until they landed on his son. Lily's heart raced. This was the moment they had both been bracing for. Eli, Wolf called out, his voice rumbled like thunder, but there was an undercurrent of desperation. I need to talk to you. Frozen in a moment that felt like eternity, Lily could see the struggle on Eli's face, the battle between duty to his father and the fear of what might come next. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their shared history hang between them. In that heartbeat of hesitation, she stepped forward, her voice steady. Maybe you can find some peace in talking to each other, she suggested, her heart aching for both of them. But Wolf's burdened gaze locked onto hers, intense and laden with unspoken questions. Do you really believe that? With nerves twined around her heart, she nodded. Yes, I do. It was now or never. Would they allow each other the chance to heal? And if Wolf stepped closer, would Eli take that first brave step towards understanding? The air crackled with uncertainty, a moment suspended on the edge of change as tension tightened around them. A door opened, revealing a new path ahead. Would they walk through it? Or would fear push them back into their separate corners? Eli's eyes flicked from his father's intense stare to Lily, then back again. The diner seemed to hold its breath, conversation stalling mid-sentence as if the world outside had faded away. Time stretched uncomfortably between them, and the vivid colors of the diner suddenly felt muted. Wolf stepped forward, energy crackling around him. Eli, we need to discuss what's going on. It's not what you think, he said, each word weighted with urgency and vulnerability. Lily could see the rigid line of Eli's shoulders relax just a fraction, as if he had been waiting for the other shoe to drop. He inhaled sharply, gathering courage enough to reply. What people are saying, it's not fair. You shouldn't have to defend yourself. A pained expression crossed Wolf's face, his brow furrowing. He reached for Eli, but the boy took a small step back, arms crossing defensively over his chest. What's fair has never mattered to them, Wolf replied, voice steady but eyes glistening with a fresh wave of frustration. Lily watched, heart aching for the chasm opening up before them. It felt as if stones were being cast in the waters of their connection, rippling away the tenderness that may have existed. Maybe if you just talked to the people, she started, but she didn't know if it was the right thing to say. Talk? Wolf repeated, a bitter smile curled his lips. You think that talking will change anything? They've made their minds up about me long before I even stepped foot in that town hall. No, Dad. Eli's voice rang out sharp, full of an unexpected confidence. It's not just about them. It's about us. What do you want? A silence filled the air, the words heavy with meaning. It was like that moment before thunder, when everything felt charged and alive. Wolf's stormy exterior began to retreat ever so slightly. He lowered his gaze, vulnerability creeping in. I want to protect you, Eli. That's all I've ever wanted. Suddenly, the diner's chatter rose just enough for the quiet son and father to hear their swirling emotions echo around them. Lily felt her stomach knot. She realized that no matter the outcome, this was the moment they'd been pushing toward. Every apprehension, every doubt was laid bare, and she could almost see the walls starting to crumble. Protect me from what? Eli pressed, his voice a mix of accusation and longing. Wolf sighed deeply, An exhale that reverberated with years of pent-up fear. From myself. From the man I might become if this all goes south. I can't bear to see how my mistakes could hurt you. Eli swallowed hard, eyes searching his father's face, looking for some sign of reassurance, but instead finding only reflection. Dad, I'm not afraid of you. It's everyone else that sees a monster, he said quietly. The words hung in the air, ripe with a developing understanding. Lily could feel the growing connection, a flicker of light penetrating the thick fog of confusion. You're more than what others see, she murmured, savoring the moment of clarity she hoped would spill into their lives moving forward. Suddenly, the bell above the door chimed again, the sound jarring them back to reality. A group of townsfolk entered, their laughter abruptly silenced as they caught sight of Wolf. Their whispers erupted once again, eyes darting, fingers pointing. The moment thickened with anxiety, uncertainty swirling like a storm cloud poised to strike. Would this newfound vulnerability be enough to keep the walls from closing in on them? Eli took a step toward his father, courage bubbling over the fear still washing over their surrounding community. Can we get through this together, Dad? Lily held her breath, feeling the pulse of the diner echo with her own heartbeat. All eyes were on them now. Wolf's response could change everything. Would he take that step forward, embracing vulnerability alongside his son? Could they stand united against the chaos? Or would their silence shatter any hope for reconciliation? Wolf felt the prickle of stares around him, an intruding audience as he faced Eli. The air thickened with expectation. Those whispers grew louder, a wall of sound that constricted his throat. Dad, Eli's voice was barely above a whisper now, urgency etched on his young face. Please. The weight of the moment drew Wolf back. The diner, once loud and colorful, became a backdrop to their emotional battlefield. He opened his mouth to speak but hesitated, grappling with the turmoil inside him. How could he express the depth of his fears, the pain of being seen as something monstrous? He began, his voice cracking. He fought against the swell of emotion. I don't want to drag you into this mess. This has been my burden. But it doesn't have to be. Eli shot back. You can't just keep shutting me out. We're in this together, remember? Wolf searched Eli's eyes. The strength there both terrified and comforted him. His heart ached, feeling the immensity of his son's trust. Hey, he thought. Let's be brave. All right, Eli. Let us do this, Wolf said, surprising himself with his own determination. Let us talk. Not just here but in front of them. I want to show everyone who I am. And who you are. You deserve that. Lily sensed a shift in the energy around them. It was like an electric current ignited. Hope flickered through her, blooming brightly against the anxious backdrop of the diners watching with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. But before anyone could react to the revelation, the elderly owner of the diner, Mr. Hargrove, moved toward them, concern etched on his face. You don't need to. It won't matter what you say. They've made up their minds about you already. For a moment, it felt as if Hargrove was shaking the foundation Wolf had just begun to rebuild. Eli's expression darkened, frustration flaring in his eyes. That's not fair. He exclaimed, the emotion spilling out. You can't let fear decide for you. There was silence then, punctuated by the soft clinking of dishes and the murmurs of patrons. The other diners were drawn in by the drama unfolding. Lily could feel the electricity, the tension pressing against her chest. Wolf turned to face Hargrove, who had known him since childhood. I know. But Eli's right. Fear can't win. Not this time. Then let us show them, Eli said, determination honing his voice. His gaze shifted to the entrance where townsfolk loitered. Let us set the record straight. Lily's heart raced. This was at the moment they would either rise together or face a torrent of rejection. She could see how much this meant to both of them but feared for what might come next. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a woman with a camera, suddenly focused on Wolf and Eli. The click echoed sharply in the diner. The words and the moment felt like they were being captured forever. A timestamp in time when everything could change. Can we really do this? Wolf asked Eli, steeling himself for the uncertain road ahead. Eli nodded, fire igniting in him. Together. But how? Wolf's question lingered, heavy with implications. Before they could answer, a shout erupted from a group in the corner. You think we want to hear your excuses? A voice spat, veiled in bitterness. Their battle wasn't just with their fear, but with an entire town's prejudice. The tension escalated, a palpable energy buzzing like static in the air. Lily breathed deeply, heart hammering. Would they be brave enough to face opposition together? Would they really stand against a tide of judgment to embrace the truth? As Wolf turned to meet the eyes of those who judged him, it felt like a defining moment rested on the edge of a knife. Would they finally reclaim their narrative, or risk being swallowed whole by the very fear they sought to overcome? The bell chimed once more as another group entered, intensifying the weight of the moment with the sharp thrill of anticipation. Would they fight back or concede to the familiar despair? Lily's thoughts raced. There was so much at stake, and she could feel the story hurtling forward, teetering on the brink of revelation or ruin. What choice would they make when confronted with the truth? The air shifted, heavy with tension. It felt like every watchful eye was a weight pressing down on Wolf's shoulders. He could hear Eli's breathing beside him, steady and firm. "Look, we're not here to make excuses," Wolf finally said, his voice louder now, cutting through the murmur of disbelief. "This isn't about apologies. It's about who we really are." The initial group, brimming with skepticism, stared back at him. Lily couldn't shake off the sense that each of them carried their own set of fears, their own shadows. But Wolf, emboldened by Eli's unwavering spirit, pressed on. "I made mistakes," he continued, his heart pounding fiercely. "I've carried a darkness that has cast a shadow over my life and possibly yours. But that doesn't define me." "What does?" a woman shouted from the back, her voice dripping with disdain. "You've ruined lives. Why should we listen to you now?" Wolf clenched his jaw, his pulse racing. There it was, the familiar sting of rejection. Yet Eli stood firmly, fists clenched, eyes ablaze with determination. The boy inched closer to his father. "Because he's not just that man you think you know," Eli spoke up, each word pouring from him like gasoline on a fire. "He's my dad. He's worked hard to be better. And if you give him a chance, you might see there's more to him than you've ever known." There was a ripple of murmurs, uncertainty flickering among the diners. Wolf could see their faces shifting, the doubt mingling with curiosity. The camera lady in the corner hadn't stopped clicking, freezing moments that might very well decide everything. "Just tell us the truth," someone challenged, bravado masking their fear. Wolf closed his eyes briefly, inhaling the sharp smell of coffee and grease intermingled with his own unease. "The truth is, I know I've hurt people. I know I can't change the past. But I'm here trying to face it. Eli is my light. He's the one stopping me from losing myself completely." The vulnerability in his tone hung in the air, naked and trembling. Wolf's chest tightened as he looked at his son, who had grown so much in that moment, like a plant reaching for the sun. "Can you tell me you wouldn't do the same for your family?" Eli's voice rang out, thought concrete and powerful. "Wouldn't you fight against the fear of judgment to protect the ones you love?" The diner fell still. Patrons exchanged uncertain glances, their defenses beginning to waver. Lily sensed it too, the shift from judgment to perhaps understanding. Before anyone could respond, a hand shot up from a corner table. A man stood, visibly torn. "My brother. He came back different too," he acknowledged quietly. "I pushed him away. I thought he didn't deserve another chance." A soft murmur spread like wildfire, igniting memories of shared experiences. It became something unspoken but palpable, a collective understanding grappling with forgiveness and redemption. "It's not easy," Wolf voiced, his heart heavy yet resolute. "But if we don't allow people to grow, we risk losing ourselves in the same darkness we fear." One woman shifted forward, her eyes filled with hesitation, yet a glimmer of hope dared to spark. "How do I know you won't just backtrack again?" she called out, vulnerability breaking her bravado. "Because I have someone worth fighting for," Wolf shot back with passion. "And because I refuse to let that hope slip away." As he spoke, the tension that pricked the atmosphere transformed, weaving a fragile thread of possibility through the hearts in the diner. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning, the first flicker against the night. And then, just as a hesitant applause began breaking the icy silence, the door swung open with a heavy thud. A figure slipped in, casting a long shadow over the diner, a looming presence that drew eyes and gasps alike. "What's going on here?" The newcomer's voice boomed, a baritone that sent shivers down Lily's spine. Heads turned, uncertainty mixing with fear. Wolf, still standing on the precipice of truth, felt the ground shift beneath him once more. Who was this stranger, and how would they alter the fragile alliance he was trying to forge? The stakes had just risen, and Wolf's fight was far from over. The figure at the door was a man with a hard look, eyes as cold as a winter morning. He wore a leather jacket, its creases telling stories of battles faced and lost. Every step he took echoed off the diner's tiled floor, the click of his heavy boots marking a rhythm of impending confrontation. Wolf's stomach twisted. He didn't know who this man was, but he could sense the threat oozing from him, the very air prickling with tension. Eli moved closer, inching behind his father, as if trying to shield himself from the storm. "Who the hell are you?" Wolf demanded, trying to sound strong though deep inside, his heart raced, uncertainty gnawing at him. The man didn't flinch. "I'm here for what's mine," he said sharply, gaze sweeping across the diner like he was sizing up prey. "And it's high time you stop scaring people with your sob story." Murmurs echoed in the diner once more, fear creeping back into the air as patrons shared worried looks. Lily felt her breath catch in her throat. Was this the very threat Wolf had been trying to overcome? "If you have something to say it to me," Wolf pressed, forcing anger to cloak his fear. "Leave my family out of this." The man stepped forward, challenging. "Family? Is that what you call them? You don't get to claim them after ruining so many lives." The room was heavy with tension. The clattering of dishes and forks paused, as all eyes were locked on this unexpected conflict. Eli's small hand curled into a fist against his father's side, feeling the weight of the moment. "That's enough," Lily shouted suddenly, rising from her seat. She felt the strong urge to protect both Wolf and Eli, even though they were both grown men. "We're all tired of this. You don't know what he's done to try and make things right." The newcomer turned to Lily, surprise flickering in his intense gaze. "And what would you know about it? This is about more than just him," she shot back, voice unwavering. "It's about all of us, what we've been through, and how we're trying to move forward." The atmosphere shifted again, as if the air thickened with caution and possibility. Wolf glanced at Eli, whose eyes were wide but filled with a glimmer of resolve, both proud of his father and afraid of the man in front of them. "Step back," the stranger warned, voice low and dangerous as he locked eyes with Wolf again, lingering on the fear simmering just below the surface. "You've had your chance. I'm here to take it back." Wolf's heart raced. "You think you can just waltz in here and threaten us? You don't know what it took for me to fight for my family." As silence wrapped around them, the camera lady moved closer, capturing every moment, each shift in expression. Tension gripped everyone in the diner, where loyalty clashed with loyalty, and the past knocked against the present. "Fight?" The man spat out a laugh filled with disdain. "You think you've fought for anything? You're just a coward hiding behind your son." Eli, feeling the sting of insult, stepped forward from behind Wolf, his small form somehow radiating bravery. "Don't talk about my dad like that. He's trying to be better. You have no idea what it's like." The diner held its breath. This was no longer just a confrontation between fathers. It was a clash of wounds, a battle for recognition. As the gruff man scoffed, a look of contemplation crossed his face as he glanced from Eli to Wolf. "You think this is a game, don't you?" With determination setting deep in his veins, Wolf took a step closer. "No, this is life. This is my family." Just then, a surprising voice piped up from a corner table, the man who had shared his story about his brother. "Maybe we should listen to him. Maybe we should all listen." But before anyone could respond, the growl of a motorcycle engine churned outside, muffled by the noise inside the diner, amplifying the sense of dread. Wolf's heart skipped. Who else could be on their way, and what would it mean for everything they were fighting for? In that heated diner filled with uncertainty, it felt like they were standing at the edge of a precipice, with choices looming like shadows. Would they fight to uphold the fragile hope they had begun to build? Or would they be swept away by the currents of their past? The truth was yet to unfold, and the stakes couldn't be higher. With the roar of the motorcycle outside, the tension in the diner escalated, suffocating like a thick fog. Wolf's heart pounded as anxious eyes darted from the newcomer to the door, uncertainty clinging to the air. Eli stood tall beside him, a youthful fire sparking in his eyes. Yet the boy's bravery felt fragile against the encroaching storm. "Get behind me, Eli," Wolf whispered, instinctually wanting to shield his son from whatever was coming. But Eli shook his head, determination shining through his fear. "No, Dad. We face this together," he insisted, looking up at Wolf as if to remind him of all they'd fought for. Before Wolf could respond, the door flung open. A tall figure, draped in a black leather jacket identical to the man within, stepped inside, sunglasses perched atop his head, glints of menace in his eyes. The entire diner fell silent. "Ryder!" The first man barked, his voice harsh, causing the locals to flinch. "You're late." "Had to deal with some business," Ryder replied coolly, surveying the room. His gaze landed on Wolf and Eli, and a smirk crept across his face. "I see you've met the family man." He stepped toward them, the weight of his presence filling the diner to capacity. The other man, now identified as Ryder, advanced too, shadows clinging to his figure, threatening like predator and prey. "What do you want?" Wolf's voice was steady but bore the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. "You've made your point, just leave us alone." The crowd leaned in, breaths held. This was a show they had never expected, where loyalty and past trespasses collided like thunder in the distance. "What do I want?" Ryder echoed, taking a few deliberate steps closer. "I want justice. You've taken everything from my brother. He deserves to have a fighting chance, don't you think?" The mention of the brother hung in the air like an uninvited ghost. Wolf's mind raced over the years' choices made and paths taken. The man in front of him carried a burden, one Wolf feared mirrored his own. "You're wrong," Wolf said, his voice breaking the tension for a brief moment. "I didn't take anything away. I tried to save my family. I'm trying to be better." Ryder's eyes narrowed, a hawk fixated on prey. "Being better doesn't cut it. You're just running away from the consequences of your actions." Eli clenched his fist again, stepping forward, grounding his father. "Everyone makes mistakes. You don't have to keep fighting. You can choose to do better too." Ryder snapped his gaze to the boy, surprise sweeping across his features. The room held its breath again, the atmosphere thick with hope and despair. Wolf felt a flicker of pride for his son, but the situation felt like a loaded gun. "Enough of this." The first man barked, anger rising within him, breaking the fragile moment. "You're all delusional. Leave Wolf and his little family out of this." "Why should he?" Ryder shot back sharply, his icy demeanor now revealing cracks. "They think they can change, and maybe they can if they face what they've done." Suddenly, amidst the clash, Wolf found space to breathe as the mounting pressure morphed into defiance. "Then let us face it. Right here, right now." Each word felt like a promise, an invocation not just to Ryder but to the lingering shadows of his past. But just as the tension peaked again, the sound of the diner door creaking open interrupted, and all eyes turned, barely catching their breath. A woman stepped in, weathered and weary, but unmistakably familiar. "Is everything okay in here?" The hushed diner shifted, emotions swirling. Who was this woman and what did she bring with her? Wolf's mind raced with possibilities. Had the tides just turned again? And was this the woman who could either heal or deepen their scars? As confusion and anticipation hung in the air, one truth became crystal clear: they had to face their past. But would it be together, or would it tear them apart? The woman stepped farther into the diner, her presence slicing through the tension like a knife through butter. Wolf squinted against the light, heart racing as recognition hit him like a tidal wave. It was Sarah, a ghost from a life he thought he'd left behind. "Sarah," he breathed, uncertainty coloring his tone. Her eyes searched the room, landing on Wolf and the boy by his side. "I heard there was trouble. I came as soon as I could." The warmth of the words felt like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters, but they also stirred a storm of emotions within him. Unresolved feelings mixed with the yearning to protect Eli. Ryder shifted, rubbing the back of his neck as confusion flickered across his face. "You know her?" "Yeah, we go way back," Wolf replied, each word heavier than the last. "Way back?" Ryder scoffed, his gaze darting between them. "So you two do have a shared history." Before Wolf could respond, Sarah stepped forward, undeterred by the chaos. "You don't need to do this, Ryder. Blaming Wolf won't bring your brother back. I know what happened and it's not as black and white as you think." A ripple of murmurs flowed through the diner. People leaned in, captivated by this unexpected twist in the unfolding drama. Eli stood tall beside Wolf, eyes wide with a mix of confusion and awe at this woman who seemed to resonate with both love and history. "Please," she urged, her gaze steady as she looked at Ryder. "Let us talk. No fighting, no anger. Just conversation." The tension eased just a notch, but the air remained thick. Ryder hesitated, the weight of his anger conflicting with the faint flicker of something else. Vulnerability. "You think I can just let it go? You don't know what I've lost." His voice cracked, revealing more of the man behind the mask. Sarah's expression softened. "You're right. I can't possibly know your pain. But fighting won't heal it. Trust me." Wolf watched as Ryder's shoulders slumped a little, uncertainty clouding his eyes. The silence stretched, heavy and taut, as everyone awaited his next move. "Why should I trust you?" He spat, though the bite lacked conviction. "Because we all deserve a chance to heal, to understand. We're not just our past." Sarah's voice was steady, echoing the raw truth that smacked against the diner walls. "All of us." The locals exchanged glances, each face a mix of doubt and reluctant empathy. Wolf felt the weight of those words, the truth pulsing through the very air they breathed. "Dad," Eli whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "Maybe we can help him." Wolf looked down at his son, seeing the sincerity shining from those brave young eyes. Eli had always believed in the good possible in people, even when Wolf was certain only darkness remained. "Eli, this is something we're not ready for," but Eli's small, determined nod silenced him. "You taught me to stand for what's right," he urged. Together. An unexpected warmth swelled in Wolf's chest, pride woven with fear. Together they faced the unknown together, just as Eli insisted. Was this really the moment where they could all confront their pasts? Could one woman's words truly shift the tides of resentment and hurt? Ryder's gaze drifted to Sarah, his tension easing, but the stillness held its breath. "Fine," he finally said. "Let us talk. But if this is a game, you'll regret it." Relief flooded Wolf and Eli as they prepared to step into a conversation that could either tear them apart or weave them into a new tapestry of understanding. But just as they moved forward, the looming uncertainty hung over them. What truths would be revealed? What secrets hid in the shadows waiting to emerge and shift the balance of their fragile peace? As the voices began to mix, intertwining fear with hope, Wolf felt his heart quicken yet again. The stakes had never been higher. What if, in the end, they weren't just facing their past but risking their futures? Wolf took a breath, feeling the weight of the collective gaze on him. He stepped forward, the air dense with unresolved emotions. It was time to confront the shadows and weave a new reality from the past. He glanced at Sarah, who nodded ever so slightly, encouraging him without saying a word. "Ryder," Wolf began, his voice steadier than he felt. "What happened? It haunts me too. I never wanted any of this. I wanted to keep Eli safe. That's all I was trying to do." Ryder's eyes narrowed, the anger still simmering beneath the surface. "Safe? You call what happened next safe? Stop." Eli's voice cut in, strong and unexpected. "Can you both just listen?" He stepped between the two men, his small stature somehow expansive in that moment. "Eli, this isn't," Wolf started to say, but Eli shot him a look, fierce and determined. "Dad, please," Eli exclaimed, his voice trembling slightly but unyielding. "We can't keep running from this. We can't keep hurting each other because of it." The diner felt like it held its breath. Ryder looked taken aback, the fire in him doused for just a second by the raw sincerity of the boy. "What do you know?" Ryder challenged, but the edge was softer now. The dim light reflected in his eyes, hinting at something more vulnerable. "You're just a kid." Eli squared his shoulders. "I know what it feels like to be scared. I know what it's like to lose someone you love. But fighting won't bring them back. It's just making us all hurt more." Sarah's expression softened, admiration blooming in her eyes. "Eli's right," she interjected. "We need to be brave in a different way now. Instead of anger, let us try opening our hearts and talking." Wolf felt a flood of pride mixed with fear. Eli was just a boy. Yet he stood there embodying wisdom that many adults never found. The silence in the diner transformed, shifting from tension to contemplation. Ryder rubbed the back of his neck again, uncertainty clouding his face. It's not easy," he admitted, almost awkwardly. You think I want to share my pain? No, Eli said, his gaze unwavering. But we can't keep carrying it alone. None of us can. A part of Wolf wanted to pull Eli back, to shield him from the jagged edges of life's harsh realities. But another part of him recognized this was a moment of growth for both father and son. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were leading Ryder to recognize his own strength. Sarah stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. I know the pain can feel like a prison, but when we share it, it transforms. It becomes lighter, less burdensome. We have a chance here, all of us. Ryder looked at each of them, the tension in his body slowly unwinding as if something deep within him was finally breaking free. He let out a shaky breath. You really think we can heal? That I can heal? Yes, Sarah said earnestly. Let us take one step at a time. Let us begin by sharing our stories. Wolf saw the flicker of hope in Ryder's eyes. A small crack in the wall built by grief and resentment. Fine, Ryder replied, more to himself than to anyone else. But I want to hold back. You all need to understand just how deep the wounds go. Good, Wolf acknowledged, feeling a mix of anxiety and relief. We're listening. As they prepared to share their stories, Wolf realized the stakes were shifting. This conversation could either bury their pasts deeper or ignite the spark of healing. And amid the chatter of the diner, Sarah's voice echoed softly in his mind, insisting they embrace the vulnerability that was essential for true connection. And just as the first threads of understanding began to weave through the air, Wolf heard a sudden crash from outside. The diner's buzz muted, everyone turning instinctively towards the sound, eyes wide with apprehension. What now, Wolf thought, heart pounding as the uncertainty returned. Would they face new troubles tonight? Or was it an opportunity to unite against an outside force, bringing them closer together? The diner held its breath, every eye turning towards the door, anticipation thick in the air. Wolf's heart raced, a drum beating a fierce rhythm within his chest. He felt Eli's warmth, a grounding presence beside him, reminding him that they faced this together whatever it was. The door swung open harshly, an older man with a leather jacket storming in, his scowl sweeping over the patrons. The energy shifted sharply. Fear and excitement mingled in the dimly lit diner. What's going on here? He barked, eyes zeroing in on Wolf and Eli. Just a conversation, Wolf replied, trying to project calm though his insides clenched in tight knots. Nearby patrons shifted uneasily, murmurs bouncing around the room, eyes flicking back and forth like a tennis match. Conversation? What's there to discuss? The man stepped closer, challenging. Eli, suddenly fueled with determination, took a brave step forward. There's everything to discuss. We're putting the past behind us. What do you know about the past? The stranger shot back, voice dripping with disdain. Wolf felt Eli shrink slightly beside him, but he steadied himself, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. We've done our share of hurting too, Wolf said, voice measured but firm. We want to make things right. For a beat, silence enveloped the diner, a testament to the truth weighing on everyone's hearts. The stranger hesitated, tumultuous emotions flitting across his face, a flicker of curiosity edging out anger. Suddenly, from the back of the diner, a voice broke through. Give them a chance. It was Sarah, her spirit fierce. They're trying to heal. The crowd watched in rapt attention, the air heavy with unspoken hope. Wolf felt energized by the strength of those around them. The man narrowed his eyes, taking a step back, conflicted. You think words can fix everything? He scoffed, but even as he spoke, uncertainty tinged his voice. Yes, Wolf thought privately, yearning for connection to take root. It's a beginning, he pressed. Words can open doors. The man regarded Wolf for a long moment, tension still etched across his jaw. What if it's just another broken promise? Then we own it, Eli broke in, small but fierce. We acknowledge the hurt and try to do better. Because it matters. Tension ripple fizzled into the air, igniting sparks of recognition within the gathered crowd. Many exchanged glances, a silent affirmation of the pain they all endured. What if we start right here, right now? Sarah suggested, stepping forward. What if we share our stories? We've all faced our demons. Wolf watched, nervous hope tugging at him. You don't have to share if you don't want to, he said softly, appealing to the stranger's humanity. There was a long pause, the weight of years hanging in that fragile silence. Then the stranger exhaled slowly, shoulders relaxing just a fraction. Maybe his tone softened. But it wouldn't be easy. I wouldn't expect it to be, Wolf replied, heart thumping with determination. But it will be worth it. The stranger finally nodded, a glimmer of understanding breaking through. Fine, let us talk. But if you think I'll be the first one to open up, Eli stepped closer again, a flicker of something radiant in his eyes. We can start with me if that helps. I just want us all to be better. I can do that, the man replied, finally, voice breaking slightly. And with that, the diner began to transform into a sacred space of healing. Each heart prepared to unburden itself, struck by the courage of one voice willing to share. Lily felt tears prick at her eyes. The sweetness of resolve mingled with hope filling her heart as she took a deep breath, witnessing the beauty unfolding before her. It was in this collective embrace where knotted fears could unravel, and acceptance could blossom. A sacred circle forming in the heart of rosy things, the stories began to flow, some soft as whispers, others turbulent like raging rivers. The diner transformed into a tapestry of emotion. Laughter and sorrow intertwined, strangers becoming allies against the shadows they had all carried for far too long. Wolf felt the burden lift, the air around him lighter, woven with delicate threads of connection. Eli's words brimming with light set forth a cascade, each story spoken drawing them closer together. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the diner windows, Wolf realized they had stepped beyond the hurt. They had transformed fear into understanding. They were tethered, not only as father and son, but as part of a community resilient enough to acknowledge pain and courageous enough to embrace hope. In the end, Wolf turned to Eli, whose eyes sparkled with the unwavering belief they could rewrite their narrative. He felt a smile bloom on his face, a radiant shift of hope transforming everything, knowing they would walk forward together, not alone but together. A collective sigh filled the diner as they finished their stories, the weight of silence lapsing into a comfortable familiarity. They weren't just individuals anymore. They were family, bonded not by blood, but by shared experiences and unwavering support. Never again will we hide from each other. Wolf vowed to the room, voice imbued with intensity and hope. Applause broke out around them, rising with cheers and encouragement, the strength of community binding them together as they embarked on this new journey of healing. Wolf felt elated and free. They had finally faced their pasts and emerged together into the dawn of something beautiful, a fresh start. Now they had hope, love, and the promise of new tomorrows flowing through their veins. And with a heart full of gratitude, Wolf whispered a silent prayer of thanks for his son, for the connection sparked, and for the rebirth of their narrative in the heart of Rosie's diner. As the final moments of sunset dissolved into twilight, one thing was certain: they had begun to heal together. Now, my friends, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately, so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make sure our community grows. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They deserve to feel this hope too. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. You know we want to hear from you. Let us keep this journey going.